My name is Gerald, and I'm 74 years old. Just a few months ago, I buried my wife, Linda, after a brutal 2-year battle with pancreatic cancer. We were married for 49 years, nearly 5 decades of love, friendship, and commitment. Linda was my best friend, my partner through every storm and every bright day. When she passed, it felt like the house itself sighed and went silent. We raised our only son, Brandon, in this very house. Every wall echoed with his childhood, his laughter, his teenage tantrums, his triumphs. We gave him everything a parent could give. The best schools, unwavering support, and most importantly, unconditional love. Brandon was a good kid, smart, driven, respectful. When he got accepted into an Ivy League college, Linda and I felt like we'd accomplished something meaningful in life. We expected him to graduate, build a solid career, maybe settle nearby, and remain a part of our small family. But life, as it often does, took a different turn. In his final year of college, Brandon fell in love with a woman named Chloe. Within 6 months of knowing her, they got married. Linda and I were surprised, but we tried to be happy for them. We even offered to let them stay with us until they found their footing, but they declined. They wanted to make it on their own. At first, Brandon would call regularly. We'd hear about his job interviews, his struggles, their tiny apartment, and their dreams. But slowly, the calls dried up. Weeks turned to months. A year passed with no contact. Linda and I called countless times, no response. Letters returned unopened. Holidays came and went. Birthdays passed by without a single word from Brandon. Linda cried herself to sleep more times than I could count. She blamed herself. I blamed myself. Have we been bad parents? Were we too strict? Too lenient? We tortured ourselves with questions we couldn't answer. Then Linda got sick. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. Even as her body grew weaker, her heart held on a hope. Hope that Brandon would somehow return before it was too late. He never came. When Linda breathed her last breath, the only people by her side were our neighbors, old friends, and me. The boy we'd raised with so much love was nowhere to be found. I organized a quiet funeral for Linda, just like she wanted. Simple, dignified, surrounded by people who cared. And then, like a ghost from the past, Brandon showed up. He stood at the back of the church, looking older, broader in the shoulders, but with tired, almost hollow eyes. Chloe was by his side, holding the hands of 2 little children I had never met, my grandchildren. For a brief moment, my heart swelled. Maybe he had come back because he finally realized what he'd missed, because he regretted abandoning us. I welcomed him with an open but cautious heart. At the funeral, Brandon cried. He spoke about Linda, recalling old childhood memories, how she used to bake his favorite cinnamon rolls every Sunday, how she stayed up late helping him with science projects. His words brought tears to everyone's eyes. Afterward, we went back to the house. Brandon apologized. He claimed life had gotten away from him. Stress, pride, stubbornness. He used every excuse in the book for the years of silence. I wanted to be angry, but all I could feel was relief that he was back. For a few weeks, it was almost like having a family again. Brandon called every other day, visited with Chloe and the kids. The empty house slowly filled with noise and life again. I thought perhaps the second half of my life would be different, warmer, fuller. But slowly, small cracks appeared. Brandon's visits always seemed to veer into financial conversations. He'd casually ask about my pension, how I was managing the bills, and the value of the house. At first, I brushed it off as concern, but the questions grew more intrusive. One evening, my sister Diane came over. She told me Brandon had been calling relatives, even some old friends of Linda, asking about my savings, the house, any inheritance left behind. Alarm bells started ringing. I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to believe Brandon had come back for family, not fortune. But doubt gnawed at me. I decided to test him. During Brandon's next visit, after dinner, I casually mentioned I was planning to sell the house and move closer to him and his family. I expected him to be happy, to welcome the idea of his father being nearby. But Brandon's reaction wasn't joy. It was calculation. He immediately asked about the house's market value, how much I thought I could get for it. He and Chloe exchanged quick glances, and suddenly, they were suggesting neighborhoods I could move to, They talked about how I could downsize and live comfortably in a small apartment or retirement community. That night, I overheard a hushed conversation between Brandon and Chloe in the guest room. Brandon said the house could sell for enough to pay off their mortgage, clear their debts, and fund a lavish vacation. Chloe hesitated, but Brandon assured her I'd be fine in a retirement home with proper care. My heart broke into 1,000 pieces. This wasn't about rebuilding family. It was about cashing out on me. I confronted them that same night. There were no denials, just awkward stammering for Brandon and silent tears from Chloe. I told him to leave. I cut ties completely. I blocked Brandon's number, told him not to contact me again. I didn't need people in my life who viewed me as a bank account. Now, months later, the house is quieter than ever, but I feel stronger. I filled my days volunteering at the local library, joined a gardening club, and even picked up painting, a hobby Linda always wanted me to try. I hired a caretaker to help me around the house, made new friends, and for the first time in years, I felt free, not from family, but from manipulation. Linda always told me, respect yourself, even if it means standing alone. I finally understood what she meant. My son may have abandoned me in life and returned for money, but I reclaimed my dignity. This house, it won't be sold to fund someone's greed. It'll remain a home filled with love, memories, and honor, just as Linda would have wanted. And me? I will live my remaining years on my own terms, proud, independent, and at peace.